Welcome to the Inside Track, your exclusive all-access pass to hear from global leaders who are putting talent transformation at the heart of their business. Fresh perspectives, bold ideas, global impact. All now on the Inside Track.
Welcome to the Inside Track. I'm your host, Abakar Saidov, CEO of Beamery. We're excited to bring you this series of conversations with HR executives from around the globe. To stay connected to the conversations, follow us on LinkedIn or subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm here today with Chris Montefusco, Head of Team HR at the NBA. Chris started at the NBA in 2009, working as a sales associate at the NBA store. And shortly thereafter, he transitioned to the NBA League office to work in a hybrid HR and basketball operations function. In this role, Chris drove full-cycle recruiting efforts for basketball-related departments and helped implement the inaugural referee development program. In addition, Chris managed the NBA G League player onboarding process, serving as the main HR point of contact for the entire NBA G League player population. In 2018, Chris moved into the newly formed Team HR function to build out the recruitment service model supporting the NBA family of teams. And last January, Chris assumed the head of Team HR role and now partners with CHROs across the NBA ecosystem to drive HR capabilities and practices. Welcome, Chris. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Abakar. Thanks to the Beamery team for having me.
To get us started, I'm going to run us through a bit of a fun 60-second rapid-fire interview round. We'll get to know each other a little bit, uncover some fun facts. So if you're good to go, we can dig in.
Let's do it.
All right. What's your favorite city?
Probably Florence, Italy, because I had the chance to study abroad there at NYU.
How many pets do you have?
None, but I did have 2 blue Doberman pinchers growing up. So big dog fan.
What was the last app you downloaded on your phone?
Lumosity. Trying to keep the mind fresh.
If you could spend one day with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
Andrea Bocelli. Big fan.
And what's your favorite interview question?
So I would say, why now? Why the NBA? And why the specific role?
Now we're all warmed up, as they say in the game. Today, organizations are facing enormous pressures to respond to the ever-changing market demands. What the new world of work will look like post-COVID and how they can continue to make advancements in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So my first question to you, Chris, is, in your role as head of Team HR, what are the key focus areas for you and what impact and results are you hoping to achieve in these areas?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. So our function really works as an in-house consultant shop for all of our NBA, WNBA, G League, and 2K League teams. So that's over 90 properties right there. In terms of the services we provide, break it down to like 3 buckets. One, we try to use our weight to implement enterprise-wide HR technology to streamline, processes and systems. We have a suite worth of talent acquisition services that we provide our teams as well to drive progressive recruiting strategies. And then we really work with our teams on anything related to providing guidance and strategic support on people-related matters. So when it comes to the results that we're trying to drive, we're very focused in on creating and sustaining a culture of inclusion at every level of the organization, at our teams and at the league office. And how we're doing that is partnering with our internal D&I function to build out programs and initiatives that really focus in on attracting, retaining, and developing candidates and employees who identify as women and or people of color. So we got a lot of work to do considering the ever-changing scope of HR and the added complexities, but it's an exciting time for sure.
Just going back to something you said earlier, you mentioned obviously how much of a priority D&I is for the NBA, and you guys are working so hard on that. And especially with the recent racial and gender report, you received such high marks with regards to the overall program with an A-. That's excellent. Well done. But you also received a little bit of criticism when it came to the NBA team presidents and the CEOs. How have you guys thought about the approach to achieving balance at those levels?
Right now, we have 19 teams who have a dedicated D&I lead. And that ensures that diversity, equity, and inclusion are a focus and priority at all levels of the organization. 3 of our teams are actively recruiting on D&I leads as well. So we're driving investment and dedicated headcount in that space. And in addition to actual headcount investment, we've been partnering with our internal stakeholders to build out what we call business and basketball training programs. And really they're designed to increase diversity and source entry-level talent across a number of different business areas: analytics, sales, basketball operations. So participants in those programs get access to mentorship, get access to networking opportunities, and it's really our main focus to drive placements at our teams. We're trying to diversify the talent pipeline that MBA team leaders emerge from. You made a comment around sort of the CEO and MBA president ecosystem. You're seeing a lot of those leaders come from revenue driving areas. So they're coming from the sales space, they're coming from the ticketing space, the sponsorship space. So through these business and basketball training programs, we're really trying to put dedicated effort on changing those talent pipelines as a whole. Some other things that we've implemented from an acquisition and retention programming standpoint include a mentorship program across all of our 30 teams. So we highlighted 200 rising stars, partnered them with executive level talent, and had basically like a 6-month robust intensive mentorship program, really fueling a lot of our retention and advancement efforts. And then we also have what we call this executive highlighting initiative. It's a bi-monthly newsletter where we showcase C-suite level talent who identify as women and or people of color, and push that to our team presidents and CEOs to get them thinking proactively around potential openings they might have in their C-suite. So although we've made a lot of progress in this space, there's a lot of work to be done. And our hope is that our programs and our focus and continued conversation within this space will yield more diverse results in this area. So.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're doing so many different things. And I love those programs such as, business and basketball. And one of the things I often find with programs like this is it's actually the human stories that become super relevant. So I'm sure you have many, but which one comes to mind around that's something you're particularly proud of as a moment of magic?
I think our Future Sales Stars program. Myself, our partners in our in-house consulting shop called Teambo, and our D&I team, built out this developmental program, and we had 60 participants go through this 6-month curriculum, and we actually had over 20 of the participants be placed at teams, and over 75% of the participants actually get a job within sort of the sports ecosystem after graduation. So, that was super exciting, something we built out from scratch, but really showed our focus and intentionality in terms of driving change within the revenue generating space.
That's amazing. And especially as you start seeing that change happen month in, month out, it's super rewarding. So I really love that. And you talked about the different teams. And one of the things I think about a lot with the MBA is the structure is actually not unlike a large complex enterprise, right? You're made up of many individual groups, but you have a central function. So in running that central function, what are some of the key challenges with the structure that you've seen, and what are the upsides? What have been the struggles?
Yeah, I mean, outside looking in, it's hard to really imagine the differences in structure, size, organizational reach when it comes to our teams, right? A lot of these teams are small and mid-sized businesses, and a lot of these teams have properties that might be affiliated with the NBA family and sometimes not affiliated with the NBA family. So that has led to a ton of transformationing happen within the ecosystem. Some of our teams are implementing new G League teams, new NBA 2K League teams, and some are going through tremendous growth. So really how we look at it is not one size fits all. When it comes to us partnering with teams, we really need to adapt our approach, be flexible, be agile. This is what makes it fresh, though. Like each problem that we're trying to solve at the team level is different than the next. But oftentimes we can work together on solutioning. And I think that's the upside, right? So over the course of the past number of years, we've developed basically a community of HR practitioners across all of our properties and teams. One of the OKRs that I implemented in January of last year was, how do we create an environment that's a catalyst for knowledge sharing and promoting innovation and creativity? a couple of our teams are doing some like really innovative things, whether it's the Hawks implementing a career center to drive part-time staffing, or the Raptors implementing an internal communication tool to promote collaboration across their multiple properties. We have what we call these like special interest groups. So we have monthly conversations with our team recruiters, our team L&D practitioners, our team wellness contacts, our HRIS contacts, and an executive network of 30 CHROs. So the thought, the discussion, the brainstorming that's happening in those conversations really allow us to be innovative. We're a competitive organization, by trade, if you will. So whenever we hear of something really exciting happening in one of our markets, it's like we don't want to be complacent. And our teams really use that ecosystem to drive forward a lot of their practices. So that's been tremendously impactful and rewarding. And I look at myself as a facilitator of a lot of those conversations.
I love the way you tie in the rewarding aspect of it. I was actually going to ask you, when you think of all of the things you learned, maybe most recently, what was the thing that made you go, I just learned something today. What was that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the influence that our HR leaders are able to drive at the team level, whether it's on the business side or the basketball side. We brought in a lot of new CHROs over the course of the past, I would say, 6 to 12 months. And seeing the non-sports industry experiences and skills and how that's been additive to our ecosystem, that's been incredible. Because I think sports historically has been known to recycle talent. The concept of HR and what HR is asked to do within the sports ecosystem was very, I think, paper pushing in the past. And now, through these new leaders we're bringing in, I think they're able to really drive some impactful change and influence all levels of the business. So that's been like an eye-opening experience for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk about diversity, right? It's actually about diversity of experiences, not just the traditional lens of looking at it.
Absolutely.
And one of the key focus areas for many organizations today, as you'll know very well, is internal mobility. How has the MBA and how are you approaching this topic?
Yeah, we're in a very unique position when it comes to internal mobility, right? We're not talking potentially around somebody in our ticketing group going into our partnership space or somebody in HR moving over into IT. We're talking about how do we partner with our former and current player population to support them in their transition post on court, right? And what do those opportunities look like? At the NBA, our player development group implemented what we call the Now for Next program, which really seeks to prepare players for whatever comes next. As I mentioned, we have what we call this League Office Fellowship. So basically, we bring on players and put them through this immersive experience within the league office and prioritize skill development, relationship building, exposure to various areas of the business, and hands-on experiential learning. So that's been tremendously exciting to be a part of. At one of our marquee events a few years ago, we actually facilitated a case study experience for a number of former G League players, as many of them were looking to transition into the business. And we ended it with a networking event. So they got a chance to meet with team decision makers, whether it's general managers on the G League side, team presidents, HR professionals. So that was incredible. And then if you take it a step further, not only are we looking at the transition of sort of current and former players into the corporate setting, but into the coaching space as well. So our MBA Player Development Group runs what we call the Assistant Coaches Program. And over the course of this program, we've exposed nearly 200 candidates to NBA and G League front office personnel, coaches, through on-court experiences. So when we think of internal mobility, I mean, we have these really interesting intersections between players, corporate staff, coaches, referees. You highlighted the referee development program earlier. We had a chance to basically source our future NBA referees through that program and put them through a rotational experience and really dive into what are the critical competencies that are required for success for our referee population. So that was a tremendous experience as well.
I mean, listening to you talk about this makes me kind of wish I went through these programs, to be honest. It sounds like such an amazing opportunity.
No doubt.
Changing gears a little bit, Chris, one of the things that's obviously top of mind and has been for a long time for folks is the impact that COVID-19 had on organizations. And obviously the impact has been very different on every company, each in its own way. But the sports industry specifically has been hit from many directions. Can you talk to me about how you guys have handled the demands of employees and prospective candidates, particularly when it comes to hybrid or remote working? For example, if I was a candidate applying for the MBA, what could I expect?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question. Obviously, it's been top of mind and continues to be top of mind at the league office and with our teams. I think for the past 18 plus months, I mean, health and safety have been paramount. And I've gotten exposure to a task force that we developed internally that was comprised of medical, HR, legal, facilities, and other stakeholders as we were driving our efforts when it comes to workplace strategy. I think when it comes to employees and what candidates can expect, I think it's all about being empathetic, right? It's all about listening to their needs, right? It's all about collecting feedback. We ran a series of listening sessions with our employee resource team, so targeted groups of employees to make sure that there was alignment in terms of what we were driving forward tied to our return to office strategy. We also have this broader concept called community conversation. So it's open sometimes to the league office and sometimes to the entire MBA team ecosystem, but we were able to share regular feedback tied to our return to office strategy, the new technologies our IT team and facilities team were implementing to help support collaboration in this hybrid environment, and also use it as a mechanism to share like health and safety protocol updates or just share key medical information to our family of employees. To go beyond that, we understand, like, as we were moving back into the office the past couple of months, obviously that transition could have a significant toll physically and emotionally on our employees at any level. So we partnered with mental health performance coaches to offer sessions for employees to get tips and techniques on how to really self-care and support all of their entire well-being, if you will. And we actually facilitated sessions with a licensed psychologist as well.
Listening to you talking makes me think just how much thought you've put into the new workplace and the future of work. If I were to ask various talent leaders in your organization, what is the future of work? What does that phrase mean to you? What do you think they would say?
Yeah, I love it. Like, for me, I look at it in a little bit of a different way. I look at it as, what are the challenges that my clients or our teams are going through now or will be going through? And how can I partner with them to really address those challenges in the most scalable, like impactful way possible? So I break it down into like a couple of different buckets. For me, in terms of how our HR teams operate, how can we harness technology and automation? So we talked about sort of like the part-time staffing challenges before. Like, are we going away from in-person career fairs and moving towards scalable ways to assess and attract talent, and doing that in an inclusive way, leveraging pre-recorded video interviewing technology, or just thinking through how we source talent differently? And also, like, what's the value proposition for employees, right? Like, it's a competitive atmosphere. It's in a competitive environment. So how can we leverage our brand power, our global reach, our impact to provide a one-in-a-kind experience for our candidates and our employees? Like, we're a marketing machine. Like, how can we translate that into that candidate experience? And then how can we look inward at each other, our HR professionals, and think, how can we enhance our business acumen? How can we enhance our influencing skills? Like, how can we create, learning and reskilling opportunities for our, mid-level and senior level HR staff? So those are all like the things that are going through my mind when I think of the future of work.
Absolutely. And HR investment, I think, is a really interesting topic because in many ways, the investment is the starting point, but really it's the change and the transformation that investment drives. And that in itself can seem incredibly overwhelming to many. You guys have done such a great job at driving it. So what advice would you have to those listening today on taking those first initial steps and enacting change and transforming their talent functions?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think from my functions point of view, in terms of how we support teams, at least our goal within the next year is move away from just supporting from a tactical perspective and really diving deep into this transformation concept with them. So how can we work with them to really drive our HR capabilities and practices to the next level? I read a SHRM article recently that showcased some results from a focus group, and they talked about some of the hesitancy you spoke of, right? Like sometimes there's this thought of, I'm not going to get organizational support, in these transformation efforts, or there's like a lack of appetite really to dive into this area. And there's this concept of risk taking that I think is scary to many of us. To me, I think if we want to continue to drive the HR function forward, we need to be able to dive deep into these conversations. Like this should generate significant excitement for the people function, the opportunity to push us from one phase to the next where we're driving influence across every aspect of the business and driving business results, whether it's attracting, retaining, developing talent, or thinking about our workplace strategy. So luckily and thankfully at the NBA, we're going through a tremendous transformation within the digital space, within a number of different business lines. So it gives us an opportunity to really act on that and support that creativity. And I think it's really in our DNA. So I'm excited to see what that leads to over the course of the next year or so.
I love it. NBA DNA. Chris, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all these incredible insights. I really look forward to continuing to follow this incredible journey as it evolves and as you move the needle on all these amazing initiatives, things like transformation, mobility, and D&I. Thank you for being here with us.
Love it. Thanks, Abakar. Thank you, Beamery.
That's another great view into the Inside Track. To stay connected with us, please follow us on LinkedIn or subscribe to our YouTube channel.